Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to another Roma Press live stream. Thank you for being on here. Obviously, the biggest thanks goes out to all the wonderful patrons that have been following us over the years and the patrons that have been constantly messaging me today. A big thank you to some of our greatest representatives of the Roma Press patron group chat, which if you haven't already joined, then what are you waiting for? What are you missing? You don't even know. Um, if you would like to join this madhouse that is the Roma Press patron group chat, you can do so by going to patreon.com/Roma Press. And that's where you can support us. And that helps a great deal in our endeavors. So I want to welcome everybody on here today as we prepare to see how Roma fare in their first leg against Brighton in the Europa League round of 16, which they will play tomorrow at the Stadio Olimpico, live from Delaware. No, live from Fuerteventura. So it's not exactly Long Neck, Delaware. That place is behind me. Those are my best years, but they're over now. So I've had to move on to warmer climates with fewer dangerous Irish women. Um, I will be reading off, obviously, as always, comments, and this live stream will be mostly about what we can expect from Roma tomorrow night, the formation, any changes, the what attitude Roma must have going into this game. What are the expectations for Roma versus what are the expectations for Brighton? As I'm recording this, I know that Roberto De Zerbi, Brighton manager, is now talking in his press conference. So I'll have to get to that later on after this live stream. But in the meantime, there is plenty to talk about because Roma are a bit of an enigma going into this game. And we also have to consider the series of games that await them right before the international break at the end of this month. So, if you have any questions, any comments, any things that you want me to mention or address, please write it down in the comments in this chat and I will be reading them. So, hello, Mazin. I hope all is good. Thank you so much, Mazin. Appreciate you being here with us again. Uh, Daniele De Rossi extension news, great, but I think too early as much as my heart wants it. Okay, we can get to that later on as well. There have been some rumors that Roma owners Dan and Ryan Friedkin are increasingly convinced of Daniele De Rossi's role within the team as their long-term manager. We can also mention Paulo Dybala, who still faces this very uncertain future, probably mostly because Roma are yet to appoint a sporting director. Are you going to do an analysis of your date? The other no, Stephen. Okay, let's keep the questions strictly football related, please. I want to see more of Andy and John go at it about Jose, says Tony. I don't know if that is a safe route for us to undertake. The last time we had a big debate um, about the special one, we had some pretty concerning mentions on YouTube and on Twitter. We've also had to shut down our direct messages on the Twitter page. Agree with Mazin. As much as I want in, I'm trying my best to just enjoy the moment with regards to De Rossi and not get ahead of things. That is a very healthy attitude and outlook to have, Tyler. And I think that's your safest bet right now. Sup, Andy, finally able to make it to the stream. Greetings from Peru. Wow, thank you so much. Yes, thank you to everybody who is here now, and whoever else will join us. If you would like to help this live stream get a bit of traction, please consider clicking on the like button. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, this is where you can find all of the Roma Press podcast episodes in video format. And this is where also you can find these live streams, which I try to do on a regular basis, at least once a week. And you can subscribe to the channel and stay up to date with the latest content that we upload here. So let's get into it, guys. Roma Brighton. What a wonderful fixture. At least I think this is a wonderful fixture given the current circumstances, given the fact that we have Daniele De Rossi on the bench, who is a big admirer of Roberto De Zerbi. Roma, I don't know whether they're trying to emulate what Brighton have brought to the table with De Zerbi, but they will definitely play in a different manner compared to the way they might have played with Mourinho on the sidelines, right? So we immediately go into this game not with the idea of, oh, this is two teams with completely different ideologies going at it. No, this is two teams, one of which is led by a guy who is a huge admirer and student of De Zerbi. Let's remember what Daniele De Rossi said in his press conference a week ago about De Zerbi. De Zerbi was one of the few coaches who basically shared everything there was for him to share with an aspiring coach in Daniele De Rossi. When De Rossi was trying to get another fresh start after the Spal experience, which was short-lived, Roberto De Zerbi was the one to reach out to him to share access to his database, to his notes, and sort of, keep him going, because as De Rossi has made it pretty clear, after the Spal experience, not many clubs wanted to have anything to do with De Rossi. So De Zerbi was is clearly a mentor to him. Whatever he is putting out on the pitch is inspired by what De Zerbi has been doing, whether it was at Benevento, whether it was that Sassuolo, because De Rossi also today mentioned that whenever he would play De Zerbi still as a player. So I would imagine, what was it? So De Zerbi took over Benevento. I think it was 2017, could be, and then probably when he was at Sassuolo, that's when De Rossi already saw something in him. So let's see. Hey, Andy, what are your thoughts on Daniele De Rossi's lack of trust in Bove compared to Cristante? Greetings from Azerbaijan. I think that was a question that was asked of him today in the press conference, and De Rossi just said, no, there is nothing there. I believe in him. I believe in the fact that he has a great future ahead of him, and that he still has a lot of things that he's yet to unlock. He's mentioned that Bove is one of the best technical players on the team, and that many people don't realize that. And he's also said that he's pretty early on in his development, so he still can change the way he plays and the position that he plays. De Rossi said that he sees him more as a defensive midfielder. He sees Bove more in the vein of De Rossi, when De Rossi started to play in front of the defense. That's where he sees Bove, or at least in the future, that's one of the options that Bove could. So I think with Cristante, it's just a matter of Cristante gives him more certainty in a moment where Roma needed to have some kind of certainty. But let's remember, Bove was one of the better players against Feyenoord in the first leg, and was unquestionably one of the better players in the match against Verona. So Bove is there. It's good to have these options. I just think that De Rossi, as somebody who has slotted in mid-season, he needed reassurances. He needed a certain hierarchy, and he bet on guys whom he played with, right? So Cristante, a player that he admired back when he was a player. Remember the famous quote of De Rossi: I if I could, I would have 100 Cristantes, because he's not Roman, but he plays like he is Roman. Like him or not, I think it just comes down to a decision of, I want this team to gel. I want this team to have a certain structure and a certain hierarchy. Cristante, just like Pellegrini, another player whom De Rossi knows very well, is clearly a focal point of the team, along with Leandro Paredes. There you go. Another player that you may have asked yourself, well, what is he doing there? and now he's performing. Cristante has had a bit of ups and downs. I would say that despite doing some really good things at the beginning of De Rossi's start to life as a manager, he's had a bit of a drop off recently. But the important thing is for De Rossi to continue valuing those players. I would like to see Houssem Aouar at some point, and I expect him. I expect Houssem Aouar to have a more prominent role in the coming weeks, perhaps even already this weekend against Fiorentina. Hey, Andy, could you see Tammy sticking around for another season? I feel like he would work great in De Rossi's system. Lukaku hasn't really blown me away, especially for how expensive he is. Well, this is a good question because Abraham was actually supposed to return to group training sometime this week. The initial prognosis that Filippo Biafora, our good friend from Il Tempo, made was that Abraham could potentially make his return to group training after Monza. That's not been the case, but the feeling was always mid-March, with the idea of having him then play a game or two with the Primavera near the end of this month, to then have him back with the team in April, with the possibility of perhaps having him play a few minutes here and there before the end of the season. So, do I see Tammy Abraham still in Rome next season? Yeah, well, yes, because what are you going to get for him now? What is the upside? Who's going to bet on a guy that's been out for almost 9 months, or has it been already 9 months? Ciao, Andy. Need to set the tone tomorrow, says Nino. I wish Asmoon would get a start, just don't know where he could go. Asmoon, as much as you would like to see him, is not going to start tomorrow. Tomorrow, I expect two variants, and those are the two variants that all of Italian media are reporting on. Nobody has a clear idea of what De Rossi is going to do, and I think that's exactly what De Rossi was trying to convey to the media in his first press conference when he was asked about a three-man defense versus a four-man backline. Because tomorrow, those are the two options. Either Roma go into this game with a 3-5-2 with Chris Smalling at the back, or they go with a 4-3-3 with El Shaarawy up top, Chris Smalling on the bench, Gianluca Mancini and Van Dijk leading the defense, and then you have Seki Selic and either Angelino or Spinazzola on the left. So those are the two options, but I think those are the options that will dictate how Roma decide to play tomorrow. I expect Roma to veer more towards the 4-3-3. I expect Roma to have a more attacking mentality tomorrow, because you're going once again into a packed Stadio Olimpico. You are going up against a team that is new to this. Brighton are new to it. They've all admitted it. Even De Zerbi minutes ago, when he was asked about this game, about the expectations, he stated, we have no experience in this stage. And that's no secret. So for them, it's a whole new thing. They're going into a really heated Stadio Olimpico that is very familiar with this kind of setup, given their experience over the last few years. So I would assume that Roma will decide to put the foot on the gas and take the game to Brighton's half. And then the 3-5-2 with Chris Smalling at the back, I would expect, if you manage to secure a result tomorrow, then that's how you then field your team going back to England. But there is this ambiguity, there is this mystery that I think benefits Roma, benefits the team, because finally there's a bit of flexibility, not even in terms of tactics, but also of personnel. Exactly. Somebody mentioned here Asmoon, right? Goes from just being a permanent player on the bench to being a starter out of the blue. Chris Smalling's return also coincides with a team trying to be more flexible. So, and that's good, because I think if there is one thing that had been haunting us prior to De Rossi's arrival was that you had the feeling that a lot of the teams we faced had figured us out long, long, long time ago, and there was nothing that you could do to surprise them. Let's see. Clement, hi from Slovenia and a long-term patron supporter. That's great. Thank you so much, Clement. What are the chances Italy grabs the fifth Champions League spot? Well, let's see. This is the great Roma Press research team. Let's see how Atalanta are doing. Atalanta are drawing, still drawing. Okay, then I didn't miss much. Well, it would be great if Atalanta could win this. I mean, it's great to see Lazio lose, but at the end of the day, it would be also pretty great given how Bologna are just absolutely destroying everybody in their way to have a chance to get to secure fifth place and have that carry some meaning towards the next season. So I don't know what are the chances Italy grabs. I think they're pretty far advanced, but a lot will depend on how they perform this week. I like how Daniele De Rossi goes out of his way to make every player feel an important part of the team, and I think it goes back to who was it that said it? Was it Paredes or perhaps Pellegrini? I don't remember anymore. But basically, yes, one of the no, it was Kostas Manolas actually. It was Kostas Manolas, the Greek god in Rome, who gave an interview recently, and he said, "I'm not surprised that every player now feels valued because that's what he did as a captain as well. He put the team above everything else, including how the match went. He wanted everybody to be involved, and De Rossi himself has said it that it's been difficult, but also very nice to transition from the captain mentality to the coach mentality, because there's part of him that still wants to be the teammate, but he uses that energy, he channels that energy into being the coach. And he says sometimes it's difficult to put somebody on the bench because obviously they're going to be annoyed. Um, but it's important that De Rossi still has that feeling of camaraderie. He still has that awareness that, oh, like, for example, somebody like Bove, I have to give him props. I have to make somebody like Sardar Azmoun feel important because I need him. If not Azmoun, then who's coming off the bench to replace Lukaku right now? You don't have many options, but the ones you have can be valuable. How much have you watched of Brighton, and who are some of the players to watch out for? Adingra looked dangerous in AF Con. Well, Brighton are a very consistent side that somehow manages to be hit or miss. I haven't been following them too much this season because I haven't really paid attention too much to the Premier League this past season. But they're a team that loves to dictate the play, and it can go really either way. And I think that's what De Rossi has been trying to emulate. The fact that you want to dictate possession no matter who's in front of you, like we did with Inter, for example. That's, in my opinion, that's like a classic Roberto De Zerbi model of how you want to approach a game against an opponent that is better than you. You go out there fearless, you play to your strengths, and yes, the result comes back to haunt you because then you expose yourself, you allow yourself, you stretch yourself too much, and the opponent being having more quality than you hurts you. And that's what happened to Brighton a number of times against some of the top sides in the Premier League. But the attitude is always there, is always to go get the result. Even tomorrow, I expect Brighton to, yes, perhaps be scared because, hey, you're gonna be facing freaking 64,000 people in attendance, so a pretty exciting crowd. But I do see them try to sort of the old master, well, old, Roberto De Zerbi is not old, but the master trying to teach something to his student, and that's why I say the match intrigues me a lot. This matchup, this specific matchup with this specific Roma in mind, intrigues me very much. Anthony, I have to say, if Jose was still here, I would be quite nervous about tomorrow. But De Rossi has completely changed his team's mentality. So even if they go down early, they have the will to fight. You know, you can make the case that a Jose team could also be the perfect counterpart to Brighton. The first things that comes to mind is the return leg against Bayer Leverkusen, the same Bayer Leverkusen led by Xabi Alonso, who are undefeated in Bundesliga this season, who are 10 points up, and they're absolutely cruising. A team that just flattened you, and I think you had like one shot on goal that night. So and yet you came out with a result. So I think with even with like a Mourinho Roma in mind, this could have been perhaps a more suitable matchup for a result. Whereas tomorrow, actually, I'm not that convinced that it's going to be smooth sailing with De Rossi tomorrow or in England in the return leg. But the energy that both teams have and play with, and the determination to make the game theirs, which is something that Roma have been trying to do. And De Rossi said after the game against Monza, that was the closest game he thought was the perfect game. Like, that was the closest Roma had gotten to 90 minutes of pure quality. That even when they did not have possession, they knew exactly how to absorb whatever Monza were trying to show. Uh, so I think that's where there is always, I think that tomorrow there is a risk involved. There is a risk involved in Roma feeling a bit too comfortable. Brighton are fast. They're accurate. They move quickly. I mean, they are prepared for this type of game, whereas you are still working your way up. So that's what if there is something that I worry about, it's that disparity in preparation, because Roma are still catching up. Roma started this season playing one way, training one way, and they're ending the season doing something completely different. That 180 turnaround that we spoke of on the podcast, it's still there. It's still very prominent. This is far from a team that is perfect. This is no Roma are yet to have a complete grasp on what De Rossi is trying to convey to them, but they're on their way up. So, would you want De Rossi as a coach next season? Well, okay, that's pretty straight to the point. So we can also discuss these recent rumors, right? I believe it was Gazzetta dello Sport who came out and said that the Friedkins are making considerations for De Rossi's future. They're increasingly convinced of him as a long-term option, and could even go as far as offer a 2-year deal, right? Because De Rossi signed a 6-month deal until the end of the season, and with no option to renew. So these negotiations would have to start from scratch. But that's the rumor. Now, my thought was always that even as soon as that January transfer window came to an end, I thought to myself, that January window was done in such a way that was so compatible with what De Rossi was asking for, that either Thiago Pinto wanted to give De Rossi the greatest gift to start things with, just keep things simple but effective, and give De Rossi the kind of players that he wants to have in order to make his life as a young coach, as an amateur coach, easier. But then there was part of me that thought, well, there's something there that I think taps into a more long-term vision. And whether I would like him or not, I think all depends on obviously how this season ends. I think one thing that because a lot of people said when Mourinho left and the Friedkins appointed De Rossi, was that the appointment of De Rossi was this sort of emergency solution to an emergency situation. But then I thought to myself, well, Mourinho was great at handling the crowd, and De Rossi is great at handling the crowd. De Rossi knows exactly what's happening in this city, in this team, in this fan base. He has a complete understanding of it. Even today, during his press conference, he says if there is a person that knows how things can quickly change in this city in a matter of nanoseconds, how the opinion, how the view of the team, it's me. I'm the one who knows exactly how the momentum can swing here. And I think that is something that the Friedkins definitely want to keep in mind. Being from outside, the Friedkins, these American businessmen, they want to have somebody who's in touch with what's going on. And De Rossi is your man. Even if you were to bring in somebody like Antonio Conte, he's an outsider. He's an outsider who's associated with your past rivals and so on. It's an outsider. No matter who comes in, it's an outsider. De Rossi was perhaps the only option to sort of give you that feeling of, oh well, we're in safe hands. Even despite his lack of experience, I think most of us felt a bit comforted by the thought of, oh well, it's Daniele De Rossi who's going to lead us right into this battle. Um, let's see. Hi from Indonesia. Thank you so much. I read a few articles that have said that Dybala has offered himself to Barcelona for a summer transfer. Do you think there is any truth to this? Joe, it's not Dybala who offers himself. Players never offer themselves unless they're free agents and they meet directly with the representatives of the club. It's never the player himself. In this case, I know what article you mean because I translated it. It mentions only that entourage offered him. Entourage can mean also just an intermediary whom Dybala never met with in his life. Some guy sitting in a hotel somewhere in Malaga and perhaps sending a message to a friend who works at Barca. Is there truth to it? No, I don't think so. I think there is only the truth of the matter is that Dybala is still very uncertain of his future. He has one more year left on his contract. His current deal expires in 2025. And Roma haven't addressed the situation yet. Roma haven't made the effort to reach out to him. Why? Because there's no sporting director still in place right now. Everything is going through the CEO, Lina Soloco. She is the one running things. Obviously, sporting wise, no, but she's the one who's going to appoint the new sporting director. And something as complex as Dybala, because I mean, this is your highest earner with an annual cost of, I believe, 13 million, something like that. That's something that is so delicate, so complex that has to be addressed by the new sporting director, because there has to be a vision. Dybala, as good as he is, he can have different demands. He can be like, okay, now give me 2 more years on a contract, and Roma perhaps would want 1 more year, right? So they perhaps the club would prefer to have him signed until 2026, whereas Dybala would say 2027, and so on and so forth. So in that regard, I don't expect any news as long as there is no official sporting director in place. And that's another situation that I wouldn't say has me worried, but it's a bit bizarre. I think that we all expected with that very sudden announcement that Thiago Pinto was going to leave, which came at the end of December. Yes, I think it was December 23rd or something. Um, I expected the announcement to signify that Roma would also announce the replacement, the eventual replacement that would happen in the summer anyway, because Roma are clearly targeting somebody that's still working for another club. So I understand if these things aren't made public, or if the person involved is not already working for Roma, because remember the last time it happened with Petraki, and I think John was involved. John had somebody at the airport trying to take pictures of Petraki, and I think Filippo Biafora was also there. And then Petraki got into a whole lot of trouble with Torino because he was officially still working for Torino while meeting with Roma for Roma related matters. So clearly this decision to postpone this announcement, to not make, I mean, again, secretive is an understatement when talking about the Friedkins. So perhaps they have already somebody in place. Perhaps this somebody is already thinking, planning, and we just don't know about it, and the media don't know about it. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. I think this match will be great test for Daniele De Rossi. Going forward, would love to see more possession and one-touch passes, also more shots outside the box and take risk. That's definitely the shots outside the box, especially. We underestimate the kind of players that we have in this team, because even somebody like as criticized as Cristante, and somebody who appears to be a static player, because Cristante, that's mostly what his role has been reduced to for the past few years. Cristante has a great shot. Cristante can shoot from outside the box. Same thing for Paulo Dybala. Same thing for Leandro Paredes. Same thing for Lorenzo Pellegrini. Even El Shaarawy, I would say that he has that in him. So definitely, this is. But again, guys, this is, we're talking about a team that is going through a transition, a 180 transition, and it's that's why it's been doing wonders, considering that it's been 5 weeks, 5 weeks since the Rossi has been here, or 6 weeks, something like that. So given that it's been that short of a time, the way this team has adapted, the way this team has responded to his instructions, to his vision, to me it's still impressive. I did not believe that they would have it in them to respond so adequately, so fast, to this complete turnaround in terms of tactics, also in terms of training. Clearly, the team now can sustain much more. They can sustain a different rhythm, which they couldn't before. And obviously, they're still not there yet. This is, for something like what De Rossi is trying to implement, you need a whole preseason. And then there is another thing. That's an interesting thing. This friendly with AC Milan in Australia, which Roma announced earlier today in Perth. Um that is interesting because it takes place on May 31st. So the season has ended. It's a few days after the supposed Europa League final. Now, that's a friendly that you do when you have more or less a grasp on the situation, right? That's a friendly that you organize when when you're more or less secure of what the future holds for you. You don't organize a friendly like that if you have, say, a caretaker manager, if you have a new sporting director inside, if you're still putting all the pieces together. Mind you, Roma are doing a lot of changes inside the club. They're restructuring the whole thing. I mean, the press officer was fired. There's a whole bunch of people leaving and coming in. So, but the main things that we're interested in as football fans, so the coach, the sporting director, friendly on May 31st. I don't know. To me, it just feels like there's something in the air that hints at a future that may be more secure than we'd like to believe. Um, I'm a huge fan of a coach who likes to yell. Hope we keep him for next season. Okay, well, that's no, but what's funny about De Rossi is that no matter how much yelling he does on the sideline, notice how the team has completely changed attitude with regards to yellow cards, red cards, swarming the referee. You have to wonder whether how much of that under Mourinho was because of Mourinho's clear instructions, or how much of that was sort of a reaction to what was going on in the sidelines? Because with Mourinho, it was a constant back and forth between assistant managers, assistant coaches, assistants, various people on the bench getting yellow cards, red cards, suspensions, and so on. How much of that contributed to the team being overall a nervous team, a team more prone to mistakes, a team that um, focused more on that side of the ball? Because now the number of yellow cards dropped significantly. De Rossi has been on excellent terms with every single referee he's met. It hasn't been, before it felt like a bunch of schoolboys were trying to get their energy out in that, in confronting every single decision. Now they've taken a step back. Doesn't mean that they accept everything, but clearly there's this idea of focus on the pitch. Just focus on the pitch, because that in of itself will take so much energy out of you, that if you focus on something else, you'll fail. As a team, you'll fail. You will not reach your objectives on the pitch. Your objective on the pitch is to win. It's not to get a red card. Mazin, I'm not buying that Roma are clueless on who to appoint. I have a feeling they have their man already, but they can mention him. I agree. It's not, obviously, for me, it's just bizarre that I don't know. Maybe I'm still sort of trying to wrap my head around this modus operandi, which I like, because they don't let anybody in. They don't. You're not getting a scoop. You're not, until the very last moment. You don't know. I believe the Roma have already made their selection. Somebody like Lina Soloku, who has been working on finding a replacement for Thiago Pinto, cannot be empty-handed at this moment in time. There's a lot of names that are being thrown out there. Richard Hughes from Bournemouth is the latest one, but he's also being linked to Liverpool. These names are thrown around because they're out there, they're on the market, so everybody more or less knows what they're about. But if the announcement is not coming, it's because it's somebody who's working for another club. You can't make that known right about now. So who would it be for your top pick for the new sporting director? Well, for me, it's either somebody like Francois Modesto from Monza, young, experience, has a very wide range of connections in Italy. Um, he's been helping out Galliani at Monza a lot from that aspect. He's on very good terms with a lot of agents and with a lot of scouts in even in the minor leagues in Italy. So that's always something to keep an eye on, and especially given how this feeling of, well, if the sporting director or general manager is foreign, he has to come in, form a whole contact list, which is still not the case. Everybody consults more or less the same agents at some point in time, and especially on a certain milieu. If you work for Inter or for Roma, you have basically the same connections. You talk to the same people and you deal with the same players. But if not that, then I would also have nothing against Maurice from Rennes. I think that's also a very interesting profile. He's also supposed to leave Rennes at the end of the season. I think it's not official yet, but he's likely to leave. So I think that's also another interesting name, given how he's helped propel Rennes to play European football. So that's a big step forward for a club that was not used to that. Camilo, that's the difference between yelling at the players and yelling at the referee. Yeah, overall, and just the energy. I think with De Rossi, the energy is just, he places the energy on the things that matter, because he realizes that this is a team that cannot handle fighting on 10 fronts at once. This is not a team that can handle being good on the pitch and also being aggressive towards the referee and making a statement. No, you focus either on one thing or the other. And with De Rossi, clearly it's all about what's happening on the pitch. That is also why tomorrow it's very important to get it right and not to feel overconfident, because I see that the players are repeatedly saying, well, we have experience, we've been here before, this is not the first time. Somebody like Lorenzo Pellegrini, this is going to be his 7th consecutive round of 16. For the first time, this is the first Roma player that has made consecutive appearances in 7 consecutive rounds of 16 in European football. So we cannot let affect the way we walk onto that pitch there. And I'm sure that with the Rossi it's not going to be the case. So far I haven't seen a Roma team that underestimated its opponent. Perhaps against Salernitana we saw a bit of that, obviously in the second half against Hellas Verona where they dropped off, but right now I think De Rossi has got them more or less where he wants them to. And De Rossi respects Brighton far too much to let his players underestimate this challenge. So, regardless of who they will have on the pitch tomorrow, again, I expect something either a 3-5-2 with Chris Smalling, which I think is more likely to happen, in case we either go with a lead into the second half, or perhaps even back in England, or a regular 4-3-3 with Zeki Salik getting a start because Rick Karsdorp still not fit enough, and Rasmus Christensen predicted to miss at least a month. It's a pretty serious injury. So Zeki Salik looks like our number one option on the right flank for the coming weeks. So a pretty entertaining night awaits Roma and awaits us. Hopefully, we will be there with John to discuss a positive result tomorrow night. In the meantime, I wanted to thank each and every one of you for attending this live stream from wherever you are in the world. I truly, I mean, Indonesia, Peru, Slovenia, fantastic. Thank you guys so much. If you haven't subscribed to the Roma Press channel, click on the subscribe button and click on the like button as well. Helps us a lot. We're trying to get this channel off the ground properly once and for all. And in the meantime, if you would like to support the show, if you would like to support the website, please consider becoming a patron. You can get a lot of cool benefits if you're a patron. You get the patron group chat on WhatsApp. You get access to that. You get early access to episodes. You get extra episodes, reaction episodes made by John right after each game. You can also get some pretty cool merchandise. So if you would like to become a patron, go to patreon.com/Roma Press, and that helps us a lot. So thank you so much for the support. As always, guys, I will try to make another live stream soon enough. But again, watch out for this channel. Watch out for the space on wherever you listen to your podcast, because we will be recording tomorrow right after the match. So expect a new podcast episode on Friday. As always, guys, thank you so much for the support, and see you soon. As always, Forza Roma. Until next time.